What's going on, guys? Norm here. We're in the flavor lab, as you can see, and what we're doing today is we're doing the famous meatball subs. So basically what this is a meatball sub that we put in our homemade tomato sauce. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into two parts. We're going to do the meatballs first, then we're going to do the sauce second and see how it all comes together. So for the meatballs, what I like to use is I like to use pork, ground beef, and ground lamb mixed together. On top of that, we have Italian breadcrumbs, parm, 1 egg, and a little bit of salt and some seasoning. I'm going to use this donair spice that I have. You don't have to do that. You can do like a little mix of garlic, onion powder, oregano, parsley maybe. The other thing I like to do is sometimes I do ground beef for half, and then Italian sausage, hot or mild, definitely hot in my case. For the other half, mix those two together. That's going to make a wicked meatball. But for what I'm doing, I'm using the donair spice and just my couple of things. So basically what I do is I have this meat all mixed together in a bowl. All I'm going to do with it, add probably about a 1/4 cup of parm. That's going to get all mixed in. Looks like it might be a little bit more than a 1/4 cup, but we want about a 1/4 cup. These Italian breadcrumbs, I love them. You can get like a 3-pack at Costco for like $5 and they last forever. They have a long shelf life. So we put about a 1/4 cup of that in. We're going to get our seasoning. Again, if you don't have the donair spice, don't worry about it. Just grab some garlic, onion powder, a little bit of basil, thyme, oregano, just a little bit of each. I'm only going to pop in probably 2 tablespoons of this stuff for the whole 4 or 5 pounds of meat that I have, just because I find that I don't want to follow the exact measurements that is on this for donair meat, because I find this is going to end up being too hot for what we're doing. Last time I added it very specific or a little bit extra, and I kind of overpowered the dish a little bit. But don't worry about that. Then we're going to get the egg in. Some people like to add milk to their meatballs to keep it a little bit more moist. I don't. You can if you want. And then I'm just going to work this in with my hands. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep mixing this for probably about another minute or two, and then come back when we're ready to get the balls going. See you in a minute, boys. All right, guys, so we're back. I got all the meat mixed up, and we had to change bowls here. You'll notice I had a glass bowl earlier, and we got a little bit of a bigger metal bowl now, just because I underestimated how much meat I had taken out, and it was impossible to mix into the other bowl. So anyways, that's why that happened. So, and what we're doing now is we're taking out our meat, we're breaking off little pieces, and we're rolling it into a ball that's about, I'd say about 1.5 inches in diameter. So what we're gonna do is roll up all these, fill our baking sheet with parchment paper like I'm doing here, and then fire them into the oven for probably about 20 minutes at 400 degrees. Now, some people cook meatballs directly in the sauce. I don't. I'm gonna cook these a little bit first, and then what that does is that ensures that they're gonna hold their shape properly when it's cooking. If you cook it directly in the sauce, I find sometimes they tend to fall apart. I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna cook them for, like I said, 20 minutes first, finish them in that sauce. So I'm gonna finish rolling these guys up, get these into the oven, and then we're gonna move on to our beautiful homemade sauce, and we'll see you guys soon. All right, guys, so the meatballs are in the oven. Let's get to work on our sauce. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use, I already have these open here, is a Costco size can of San Marzan tomatoes. Now, I'm gonna just fire that right into our stock pot. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to blend these up with an immersion blender that you put in and kind of mixes everything up. If you don't have an immersion blender and you are gonna go with this style tomato, I like these because these are flown in from Italy. They're very, very, very good. They make unreal sauce. If you're gonna get these at Costco, it's like $3 or $4. They're deadly. So anyways, just bend the can, pour it into your blender, blend it up, then put that in. So with those tomatoes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a mix of seasoning. So the seasoning is going to be basil, thyme, oregano, cracked black pepper, and parsley flakes. Now, it's about equal parts of each, about 1 or so tablespoons of each. With that, we're going to put in about two or so tablespoons of salt. And I'm going to add in about, I have my little dish here, roughly a half cup, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Gotta have sugar in it. Sugar makes the sauce really, really, really sweet. On top of that, vino, red wine, doesn't matter what kind, whatever you like. Buy something that you enjoy, because what's probably going to happen is you're going to end up drinking probably the rest of the wine. So if you're not a red wine person, go buy yourself like a can or something. They'll usually have a can up by the counter at the LC. I'm using about, I'd say about a cup, a little bit more of that. Then last but not least, what I'm going to do is I have pepper, red onion, pack of mushrooms, and I forgot something. Garlic. Now, I buy this garlic from Costco because it's already minced up for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to work chopping up I'm going to use about half a red pepper, half of a red onion, and most of a green pepper, because the missus got into it before I started. So then I'm going to toss the mushrooms on, so I'm going to get to work on chopping all this stuff up. I'm going to fire it onto a baking sheet and cook that when the meatballs come out for about 10-15 minutes. So what that's going to do is that's going to roast all the vegetables nicely. That's going to get blended up in the sauce as we go. And then we're going to let that simmer, and everybody's going to get to know each other. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, we're back. Meatballs came out. They look all right. Now we're going to finish up with our sauce here. So what I did is I chopped up all the vegetables that we needed. The last thing that I have to do is just fire in some garlic. I'm going to use a couple of giant spoonfuls. If you don't have the stuff from Costco, don't worry about it. What you can do is, I would say, probably use 1 whole bulb. It's all going to get blended up after. And another thing, if you don't have the immersion blender like I do, that's going to do all of our stuff in the pot, then what you can do is when these come out of the oven, take them, fire them into the blender. What's really neat is if you take the parchment paper, you can just pick it up and hold it almost like a funnel, dump that into the blender, blend that up, fire it in here. So all I'm adding to this is a little bit of oil. So I use extra virgin olive oil. I usually use it in all of my sauces, but where I'm roasting the vegetables, I'm going to actually put it in with the vegetables. So all we're going to do is we're going to take that. I toss my spoon, which is really dumb. We're going to mix that up a little bit. And we're going to get that into the oven. After about 15 minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to get those out. We're going to drop that into our sauce. We're going to blend everything up. Then we're going to get the meatballs in, and we're going to finish up. We'll see you guys in a few. All right, guys. So it's been about 15 minutes or so, and I think we got our vegetables cooked. Yeah, that looks about done to me. So all we're going to do is we're going to take this. Remember what I said earlier, is we're going to take it, we're just going to dump it right in. So here's a neat little trick. Done. That's it. Easy peasy. All you do is basically create a funnel with it, dump it in, then I'm going to go in there with the immersion blender, get that all blended up. It's a little too loud to actually have on the video, so I'm going to do that, toss the meatballs in. We're gonna let that simmer for about an hour or so, and then we're gonna come back. All right, guys, we're back. We got the sauce all blended up, and all we're doing now is we're tossing our meatballs in so we can get that cooking down. Give that about an hour or so, and then we're laughing. What we're going to do is we're going to take those, fire them on a nice sub bun, cover them in mozzarella cheese, melt that, and get crazy. See you in a minute. All right, guys, meatballs are done. They've been simmering for about an hour, so we get our sub rolls, cut them halfway through. We're going to open up like that, leave that for a minute. We're going to get our cheese cut first because we're going to use the same knife. I'm going to cut off about 3 slices of mozzarella. I use Saputo because it's a really good melty cheese. You can get whatever you want, but realistically, I think this is the best one that you can get at most grocery stores that we would go to. So we cut off our 3 pieces. Now we're going to load this guy up. Oven's ready to go. So I got the oven going on convection at about 400. So I'm going to put about 5 meatballs on this. So that's what that looks like. We are going to just lay that cheese on top of it, put that on our baking sheet, fire that in the oven. We're going to let that go for about 2 to 3 minutes and check on it. All you want, now I got that on convection, you could put it on broil because everything is hot. Now I got that on convection, so all I'm looking for is the bun to crisp up a little tiny bit and for that cheese to just start to melt. And once that's done, we're laughing, we'll eat. See you in a minute. Alright guys, so I just got the sub out. Let's see what she looks like. Oh yeah, nothing wrong with that. Whew, she's hot. So this is what we're looking at here. Nice hot steamed meatball sub ice. That's deadly. So all we do now, cut that in half. Have another look at that. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to let that sit for about 1 minute so that I can actually take a bite without melting my face, and then we're going to be back. Guys, it's tough. I'm just sitting here waiting to eat. Like, I'm dying. Just dying. One for you. No. Guys, that's legit. So all in all, this took about, let's call it a half an hour prep work. Probably total cook time about 2 hours or so. These are the bomb. This made enough to feed about 6 people. So you can cut down on the recipe if you want, but this is my go-to, guys. This is gonna be the first charity meal that I do this year too, so. Like I always say, guys, don't be leaving hungry. Get after this meatball sub. Let me know what you think. We'll see you guys soon. Amen.